Good afternoon, folks. Rob Chappell here, executive editor at Madison365 with your daily updates. Let's see if I can get a good framing here. For today is Wednesday, December 29th. Does that sound right? The news today is predictable, and therefore not particularly surprising, but it's not good news today. The headline, I guess, is as we knew we would. Today, we've passed 10,000 confirmed deaths in the state of Wisconsin from COVID-19. We know that there are many more than that. We know that there are 1,105 deaths that the state considers probable. So that puts us well over 11,000, actually. We also know that there's a whole bunch of deaths that have happened in the past 4 weeks or so that have not yet made it into the data. We know that takes some time to process the death certificates and all that kind of thing. But it's still worth noting. We're officially confirmed 10,014 deaths. That includes 34 deaths confirmed today. That leaves our 7-day average of deaths confirmed at 24. Again, it's not that 24 people are dying every day. It's more like 24 people were dying every day a month ago or a month and a half ago. And now we're confirming those deaths. I would anticipate that to continue to rise in the coming weeks, because we know that indicator, that data point, you hate to call human lives a data point, but that data point is about 4 weeks. It's an indicator that indicates where the cases were 4 weeks ago. Okay. 4 weeks ago, we were looking at 3,000 cases a day, 2,800, 2,600 cases a day. So that 1% fatality rate is pretty close. You're looking at 24 to 2,600 cases a day. 24 deaths is about 1% of that. So it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit less than 1% right now, depending on how accurate that 24 is. So that means that in another month from now, it'll certainly be considerably higher. Today, let's just talk about the numbers today. Again, we never want to look at one number or one day in isolation, but the numbers today look pretty bad. I'm going to just say that. I believe, I'm 98.5% certain that this is the most new cases we've seen in a day this year. And we are today at 6,477 new confirmed cases today. We're at 980,000 cases all time. So another week and a half, we'll pass 1 million cases in the state of Wisconsin. The 6,477 today, again, never look at one day. We're looking at a 7-day average of new cases is now 3,869, which is the highest we've seen this year. For context, the highest 7-day average of new cases that we've seen for the entire pandemic was last year in November 2020. So over a year ago, we peaked at 6,331 new cases per day. Okay, right now we're just looking at what did I say, 6,700? 6,400, I'm sorry, 6,400 just for today. Now, if that continues for a week, then we'll be back where we were. It's not going to continue for a week right now because it's a holiday. It's a holiday week. We're not getting as much testing done, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we're not getting as many tests processed, and even the tests that are done are not getting entered into the data at the same speed as they were last year, just because it's a holiday and there's less staffing and there's less federal money and all that stuff. So we're not going to stay at 6,500 cases a day for the next 7 days. I just don't think we are, because you have a weekend and you have a holiday in there with New Year's Eve. I would anticipate, however, possibly if the trends continue as they have been, which is very steeply upward, we could be in that 6,000 cases per day range by the second week of January, which could be potentially pretty bad. Now, again, there's some talk that the Omicron variant, which is certainly driving this, is less deadly, less severe, and that it is causing infections in vaccinated people who are then far less likely to be hospitalized or die. So it is possible that we will not see that 1% correlation that I talked about a minute ago, right? What we're seeing right now is 4 weeks ago, it was 2,600 cases a day. We're now seeing 24 deaths a day. Roughly 1% of the new cases per day a month ago are translated into deaths today. It's possible that, if we're at 3,800 now per day, almost 3,900 per day now, it's possible that we'd be a month from now, we'd expect to be about 39 deaths per day. It's possible, however, because it's Omicron, because it's less severe to begin with, and because it's hitting vaccinated people, that we won't push that up to 39 deaths per day a month from now. So keep your fingers crossed that these cases do not lead to deaths. However, it's also possible that we'll get to 6,000 new cases a day and still see 39 or 40 deaths per day, which is a lower percentage, but still a very high number, right? So even if it's the percentage of people who are hospitalized and die is lower, if there's so many more cases that the actual number of deaths and hospitalizations goes up, that's still a problem, right? So don't let anybody fool you by saying, oh, it's not a big deal. Omicron is not as severe. It still can lead to cripple the healthcare system. It really could. We'll talk about hospitalizations in a moment. But first, I want to hit the other big number here today. I told you yesterday that the positive test rate yesterday was 15.3%. It has been revised upward to 16.5. Sorry, the way this graph works on the DHS website is very hard to to hit a certain pinpoint and get a certain data point. It just you gotta be very precise in your hovering. So that's why I was trying to figure out what the number was. Yesterday's 7-day positive test rate was 16.5%. Yesterday it was listed at 15.3. That's a significant upward revision. It's also a significantly high number. Today, they're reporting it at 16.4%, which will very likely tomorrow be revised upward. So we might reach our record setting. I mean, I said this is a setting records because that's the highest we've been this year by a long shot. The highest in 2021 so far was back in January. Back in earlier December at 13.3. We're now at 16.5, which is catastrophically bad. I don't know how else to say it. It means two things. It means there's too many new cases, and it means there's not enough testing. If we can get more testing, if we get there are 20,000 more negative tests in every day, that percentage will go down, right? And it would help us understand the patterns of the virus better. I would anticipate that today's 16.4 is probably closer to 17. Our highest percentage ever was 17.5 back on November 12, 2020, roughly about the same time that we were peaking in terms of new confirmed cases at 6,400 per day. So what does that mean? That means we may hit 20% positive tests next week. This is slightly inflated due to the holiday, right? We're still testing 30, 40,000 people every day, right? It's not that there's no testing. However, there is not enough testing, especially not enough testing right now during the holidays. I think a lot of people will get home from their holiday vacations and their trips and stuff and go get tested. But I also think a lot of people will test at home. And those tests do not get into this data, right? So a lot of people will do the home tests, It'll come back negative, so they will not go to CVS or Walgreens or their public health department and get tested. So that will artificially, not really artificially, but that will suppress, or that will decrease the number of negative tests that the state processes, or that the state reports, which could artificially inflate this positive test rate. However, we still have to consider that the positive test rate should be below 3%. So that's an argument for everybody to go get tested if you can, even if you're feeling fine, go get tested to make sure. And just help the state understand the data better and help the state have more data. Do the home tests, but also get tested by official authorities. That'll just help a lot. One other piece of bad news: hospitalizations continue to rise. We are now at 1,712 people currently hospitalized. That's not quite the highest. It's just shy of the record for the year, which was December 13th. We had 1,714 people hospitalized, and then it's been kind of coming down since then, including a steep drop just in the past week. Now we're back up to 1,712, which is, 49 more than yesterday. Right? No, I'm sorry, 40 more than yesterday. ICU population is 419. That's 14 more than yesterday. That's a troubling trend as well. Not only just that's a lot of people to be hospitalized with this disease, but also it tells me that even if Omicron is less severe, as we were talking about before, there are just so many more cases that even a smaller percentage is still a large number of people. Right? The number of hospital beds in the state doesn't care about the percentages. It only cares about the number of bodies that land in those beds. Right? And if we get to 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 tests per day, or cases per day, there's going to be a significant number of those that end up in the hospital, even if it's a relatively small percentage. Now, we are at the point now where we have 67 ICU beds available in the entire state of Wisconsin. ICUs obviously are for the most sick, most vulnerable people. Most of those are in south central Wisconsin or southeastern Wisconsin, Madison and Milwaukee. The Fox Valley, which is 14 counties, has one ICU bed available. The North Central region has 2. The Northeast region, which encompasses Green Bay, has 5. The Northwest region has 2. The West region, which is, La Crosse, Eau Claire, kind of that area, has 1. The South Central, which is Grant County all the way through Dane County, Sauk County, has 25. And southeast Wisconsin, Racine, Kenosha, Milwaukee, the WOW counties, has 31. Now, even in the southeast region, we're still at 95% full. Right? That 31 was only 5% of the overall capacity. South Central, which includes Dane County, which is the most vaccinated county in the state, still has 10% of its ICU beds available, which is still not very much, but it is a lot more than everywhere else. That's where we're seeing direct correlation between vaccination status and hospitalizations and hospital capacity. Not just hospitalizations, but the hospital capacity. South Central Wisconsin, which is primarily driven by Dane County, still has 10% of their ICU beds available, which is not enough, but it is a luxurious situation compared to the Fox Valley, compared to North Central, compared to Northeast, Northwest, and Western Wisconsin. Because Dane County still has a lot of cases. There's a lot of spread happening in Dane County and around South Central Wisconsin, but it's among vaccinated people who stay home and feel miserable. This is not even a mild case is not a nice thing to have, but they're not taking up hospital beds as much. Now, we are also seeing, that's not to say that it's fine here in Dane County. That's not to say that at all. In fact, UW Health, every day, UW Hospital is putting out a video with a nurse or a doctor or a healthcare provider begging people to get vaccinated, begging people to stop doing stuff that spreads the virus because they are overwhelmed. Right, 10%, 90% ICU is full is pretty much close. It's pretty overwhelming. Emergency rooms are overwhelmed. Staffs are overwhelmed and overworked. So when I say there are 25 beds available in South Central Wisconsin, I do not mean that everything's fine in Dane County. It just sucks everywhere else. No, it's just that the being vaccinated does actually help, is really what I'm trying to get at. Monica mentions something that I'm sure a lot of us have encountered, that home tests are hard to come by right now. They're very hard to get. And if you happen to see some at a Walgreens, grab a few. There is a federal government website coming where you can order one online and get it in the mail, but I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as particularly useful for the most part. I mean, except unless you order one just to have it, right? If you need one right now, that doesn't help. But I would suggest there are 500 million of them to go around. As soon as we know the website address and everything like that, I will share it with you. We'll post it on the website. We'll make sure you have the information so you can order your one test, I guess, that you get, and then you can just have it ready for when you need it, rather than having to run to Walgreens and hope they have some, right? It's a problem. It's a significant problem, and it's a problem that other countries don't have because they have figured out how to manufacture them or distribute them or something. I don't know. So that's basically the situation. It is dire. It is bad. It's going to get worse. I will be, and again, I want to emphasize this too, for some of you who may be new to the show here, or to Madison365, that we are a nonprofit news outlet. You can donate. You can donate, your tax deductible donations and help us a lot. But we're not after clicks. Okay, we don't scare you for clicks the way some media outlets have to. We're not overplaying this. We're not hyping this so that you'll click and we'll get more advertising revenue. If it's good news, I will tell you it's good news, right? If you have nothing to be afraid of, we'll tell you that, and it'll be good news, and we'll celebrate with you once that happens eventually. Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate it. The point is that when I tell you, when some media outlets tell you, the world's ending, the sky is falling, you take it with a grain of salt, right? Because they're trying to drive clicks. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to tell you the truth about how dangerous the situation is. And right now it is a very dangerous situation. It is far, far, far less dangerous if you are vaccinated and boosted. Far less dangerous. And come January 15th, we'll have a little bit more information on Omicron and the difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated people with Omicron. It is a far less dangerous situation if you are vaccinated and boosted. It is still a very dangerous situation. A lot of people are going to be quarantined. A lot of people are going to be out of work. Society is going to slow down. Schools might close. Some school. I don't think there's going to be an overall school closure. I think schools will close temporarily because of outbreaks. I think that's what's going to start happening. And you see that, we've seen that in previous years. You see every now and again, every couple of years, there's a school that has to close for 2 days because of a flu outbreak, right? I think we'll see that. I think in January and February we will see schools have to close for a day or two. I would imagine, and one of the reasons the CDC shortened the quarantine period is because they knew everybody in this country is going to be quarantined pretty soon, and you can't function as a society with everybody in quarantine. So they shortened quarantine requirements so that people could go to work and keep things going, keep things running. If you're asymptomatic, right? If you catch COVID and you test positive and you're vaccinated, ideally your symptoms will be done after 2 or 3 days. And you no longer have symptoms, so you feel better, you can go back to work, is what they're saying. You don't have to wait that extra 5 days. If you're still having symptoms, stay home. Most of you stay home anyway, right? If you can. So that is the situation. If you have any other questions, drop them in the chat, in the comments. And I have a couple other news items for you, just a couple small things to talk about on the other side of the break. So stay with us. 30 seconds. I'll be right back. All right. Last I heard that you saw that ad there that all your donations are matched right now until the end of the year, which is 3 days from now. I learned this morning we are about $900 away from our goal. So if we have $20,000 that gets matched, right? So if we raise $20,000 in this 2-month period, we'll make the most of the match commitment. If we make $19,000, they match $19,000, and we leave $1,000 on the table, right? So if you can help us get from 2,000 or 19,100, which is what it was this morning, if you can get us 20,000, like that's a big win for us. So go to Madison365.org/thefam and join, and everything will be good. Okay, real quick, couple of items. We learned this week that Isaiah, how do I say her name? I'm sorry, Shabazz, Mrs. Shabazz, Ilyasa Shabazz. I feel terrible. That was an awful pronunciation. Ilyasa Shabazz, who was the daughter of Malcolm X, and her, in her own right, a talented and accomplished author and producer and educator. She will be the keynote speaker in Madison on MLK Day. On January 15th, on MLK Day in the evening, at the Dane County Madison King Coalition celebration of Martin Luther King Day. She will be the keynote speaker. We learned that this week. The details at Madison365.org. And finally, in sports news, Abdou Mbake Jam has signed as a striker with Forward Madison, which is very exciting to me as a Forward Madison fan. One of the problems that Forward Madison had this past season was scoring goals. So they bring in a striker who can score some goals. He played for UConn, as you can see here, University of Connecticut, where he scored 46 goals in 77 appearances. If you're not familiar with soccer, I will tell you that is a lot. There's a lot of goals in a 4-year period, in college especially. And he comes to Madison after 3 years in Louisville City, where he was primarily a substitute in the USL Championship Division, which is the second tier of American soccer. Forward Madison plays in the third tier. So hoping that he brings some firepower to the field this season. He's the first first forward that's been announced by Forward Madison this season. He joins 3 midfielders, a defender, and a goalkeeper who've already been announced as returning. He's the first new player signing to be announced this season. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope you're having a nice sort of holiday week here, this weird interim week between the holidays where everybody's just kind of relaxing and chilling, and there's not much news happening, frankly. This is like the best week to be a journalist because no one calls you back. Like I can call people all day long trying to get interviews and trying to follow up on stories and trying to work on stories for next week, and nobody calls you back. It's like the least productive week for journalists. But anyway, we keep trying. We keep working. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be back tomorrow with some more, probably pretty more bad numbers for you, but we'll get through it together. Being informed, right, is half the battle. So again, have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.